Okay, don't laugh. I'm wearing a shirt that says I'm Ukrainian, and you know my background. I'm Irish American, but I am religiously Ukrainian Greek Catholic. Uh, my pastor saw my first video, and he gave me the shirt, so I'm wearing it. Okay, that's it. Now, today I'd like to go back and give some immediate background to the Ukrainian situation. Many of you know parts of this, some of it, most of it, all of it. But there are two events, 2004 and 2014, that I'd like to cover and then give my own personal experience of these events. In 2004, there was going to be an election for Ukrainian president. The election was scheduled for early October. And in the first election, there were 24 candidates. And two of them, and I've learned the lesson. I've typed in their names in the description. These two candidates got 40% each, approximately, of the vote. One was Yushenko, who may be described as the pro-Ukrainian cultural candidate. The other was Yanukovych, who may be described as a pro-Russian cultural candidate. So there was a runoff in October. And the exit polls showed that Yushenko, the pro-Ukrainian candidate, should have been about 53% and his opponent about 47%. But the actual vote showed that Yanukovych got 49.5% and Yushenko only got about 46%. So Ukrainians came out to protest. And in Ukraine at the time, the Constitutional Court took the issue. It didn't say, "Oh no, you don't have standing. We don't know. We don't want to touch this. This is too controversial. We don't want to do this." They took the case. They examined it. Now, they could have said, "No, there's no evidence. Yanukovych is the president. Goodbye." But they found evidence in this case that there was fraud. The party of Yanukovych, the Russian party, had actually interfered with the server sending the results to Kyiv. So there was another runoff. And this time, Yushenko, the pro-Ukrainian cultural candidate, won. By the way, I said that the election was in October of 2004. In September, a month before, one of the reasons why Ukrainians got upset that Yanukovych had apparently won the election was that in September, Yushenko became deathly ill. They took him to a clinic in Vienna, and the clinic found that he had been poisoned with a dioxin that was produced not in Ukraine, but, you guessed it, Russia. So Yanukovych lost, Yushenko won. Now, in this country, we go back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. Believe it or not, Yanukovych eventually got into office, and he didn't get into office just by saying that, I love Russia and let's all be Russians. He got into office and he promised to have Ukraine integrated into the European Union, to join the European Union. In fact, all the papers were ready for him to sign. Then he backed off. He said, "No, I'm not going to join the European Union. We're going to join the economic regional conglomeration of Russia." Now, let me make a joke. You have the money to buy your family a new car because the old car is a wreck and you can't fix it anymore, and you have to go to work and school and shopping and all these things, and you need a new car. So you go off and you come back to your family and proudly say, "Hey, you know what I did with that money? I bought myself a motorcycle, and the rest of the money I spent at the casino." But what would your family's reaction be? Okay, so Ukrainians did not like this. They went to the streets to protest, especially students. As you notice in most countries, it is the students who first protest because the rest of us are either working or supporting our families or doing regular day-to-day business. Um, when these students who got to Kiev, January of 2014, uh, they were greeted by snipers, one after the other after the other. They're called the Heavenly Hundred now in Ukraine. Don't play with Ukrainian families. This wasn't just taken um, as something that's unfortunate. Ukrainian people did not come out and start, uh, you know, uh, looting stores and burning down buildings. They went to Kiev and they said, "Here we are." And Yanukovych realized that he couldn't kill 500,000 people crowding the streets of Kiev. So he rushed and ran away. He didn't go to Germany. He didn't go to Switzerland. He didn't go to Belarus. Of course, you know where he went, Russia. Okay, so that's the background. Now, at that time, I thought these were unfortunate geopolitical events. They involved people that I was um, interested in, but what can you do? You know, uh, because the next step, of course, immediately was that the Russians hired thugs in uh, eastern Ukraine, in the Donbass section, to take a small section of that and and declare themselves in rebellion against the central government. And at the same time, the Russian army took over Crimea. Now, I should have been more upset about it. My daughter, whose major was in Eastern European studies, history, she was very upset about it. And she knew what she was talking about. I should have been upset about it. Many of us should have been upset about it. The same way we were upset about Kuwait being taken over or any place else that was going to be taken over. But then my personal experience of this got just worse. I'm Irish American, but I have an older brother who can be described as Irish German. He spent most of his time in Germany, got married over there, had children. When he came to visit me, he explained to me and my Ukrainian wife that, oh, that whole, uh, uh, 2014 revolution of dignity, that was caused by the CIA. The CIA uh, paid people to go out. They didn't pay 500,000 people to go out to protest the killing of their children. I had a friend who I can still consider my friend, but we don't talk because he told me in 2014 he was going to have a podcast about uh, the situation. And I said, well, that's great. So I listened to his podcast on the radio. And he said, oh, it's understandable. Oh, it's understandable. You know, those people in eastern Ukraine, they belong to a different religion. 80% of Ukrainians belong to the Orthodox Church. I'm Ukrainian Greek Catholic. That's about 10% of the population. 80% of the population from, uh, let's say, from Lviv to Vinnytsia to Kiev to Kharkiv and the Donbass and Crimea, they were all Orthodox. So it's not like the Donbass was there was 10% of the population in that side of the country that was Orthodox, and everybody else was Protestant and Catholic or something. No, everybody was Orthodox. So that had nothing to do with it. And then as the years go on, he tells me, oh, any Russian president would have to attack Ukraine because Ukrainians were threatening to become part of NATO. Wouldn't you want to become part of NATO? So it was very upsetting. Okay, let me stop there. I'm ranting and raving, but I hope that you explore this issue. Again, I recommend this book. I recommend um, that you look into these issues and you use that powerful pause button that you have and investigate. Hopefully, my next video will be more about the current situation and what I consider the defeatist attitude that people are forming about Ukraine. Ukraine won't be defeated. See you next time.